Welcome to Plot Twist Radio, the show where creativity, storytelling, and the unpredictable path of the creative life all collide. I'm your host, Erin Egnatz. Welcome back to Plot Twist Radio, where we dive into the stories behind the storytellers and uncover the moments that shape creativity in ways we never expect. Today's guest is someone who lives at the intersection of transformation and storytelling. She is an author, ghostwriter, and editor who has helped bring countless books to life, but her approach goes deeper than just writing. She believes every story is a part of a larger journey, one that can actually change the person telling it. In this episode, we talk about the power of the hero's journey in real life, why editors might secretly be superheroes, and how storytelling can guide readers, not just entertain them. We also dive into Megan's debut novel, The Barefoot Followers of Sweet Potato Grace, a quirky, heartfelt story about grief, identity, and what happens when a group of barefoot strangers roll into a tiny Texas town and turn everything upside down. If you've ever wondered what it really means to write a book or why so many people never start, this conversation is gonna hit home. Let's get into it. Hello, Megan, and welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself before we get going?
Sure. I am a author. I am a ghostwriter. I do a little bit of editing. I am a cat mom, and I am based in Austin, Texas.
Oh, very cool. I'm also a cat mom. You'll probably hear them throughout. I apologize in advance.
Yeah, yeah. Funny Business is sleeping right next to me, so maybe he'll make an appearance. I don't know.
Oh, well, I'm all for cats. I
Yeah.
love them. So, you've spent your years helping clients produce best-selling books, which is awesome. But you always emphasize transforming lives first. Where did that philosophy come from?
I really started thinking about the hero's journey and how it applies to both my clients' books and my books. Quite a few years ago, it actually was spurred by a conversation I had in an Uber during South by Southwest, and I just had this fantastic conversation with a Uber driver about we were talking about Roadhouse specifically and just like the importance of the hero's journey and the importance of all of these different elements of a good story. And I really started to like I had written a few books before that with a hybrid publisher, and had a little bit of experience, but I really wanted to like lock in on that hero's journey for my clients because a lot of them come to me because they have like quote unquote found that elixir of the hero's journey and they're sharing it with their clients, with their readers, all these things. So I like to apply that journey to their books, and then they can also like see their journey as well, and it's a positive experience for them to see themselves as a hero. A lot of people are writing books, believing they are a hero already. So being able to kind of put that into like storytelling format is really fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you kind of are a hero, especially no, you definitely are a hero for, you're an author, but you're also an editor and ghostwriter. Our editors, my editor is my savior. I'm telling you, because there are so many times that they've caught things. I've given them a product and I think, yep, it's good, it's good. And then it comes back with all these red marks and you're like, oh my God. But they help you create the story that needs to be out there.
Yeah, yeah, you're so into your story, especially if you're, if I'm ghostwriting for a client who they're telling the story of their life, they have very specific memories of it. They have a very specific perspective on it, but that perspective might not always reach all of their readers or meet them where they are. So editors are just so important to have that extra perspective. Just the extra eyes on it is always, it's always very illuminating.
Do you remember the moment you realized books could be more than art? Like for me, I was an adult. I did not like to read when I was younger, and then I finally got to Pride and Prejudice, and I realized, yep, this is it. So, do you remember that moment for yourself?
I think there was a book that I read when I was really young. It was called Walk Two Moons. It was by Sharon Creech. It was this book that boiled down to like have empathy for other people because it was like Native American saying of like you can't understand someone until you walk 2 moons in their moccasins, I think is the quote. It's been a long time. Um, but being able to like read that book and like take that lesson from it and see that it's not just like an entertaining story or it's just something, it's not part of like a bedtime routine, but it's something that like shapes your world and introduces you to maybe a new culture, a new perspective, a new, all of these different things. I think was very important for me. I really, that was my favorite book for a very long time. That Stargirl by Jerry Spinelli, very similar, showed this character who was so different and was so proud of her being different and proud of being unique and being a little wacky. That book as well was, I think, very formative because it just showed a character that you could see yourself in that character, you could be inspired by that character, and that's I mean, that's a lot to for a YA book, I'm reading it in 4th grade or whatever. That's a lot to a powerful impact.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you work with a wide range of clients. Is there a common theme that you see among the people?
That's an interesting question. I think it's the one thing that I've learned from a lot of people, and I'm trying to say this not gently, but people are writing these books. They're an expert on something. They have a lot to share. They have a lot of insight. They have a lot of wisdom. But also, people, whether they're writing a book as a memoir or a business book, there's also still so much that they have that they want to explore that is they're interested in learning about that maybe they're questioning. They also are writing these books because they know people who are curious, who want to make a change, who are questioning something, who want to improve. It's basically I've learned that it's just like this constant cycle of like learning and sharing and learning and sharing and it continues just throughout your entire life. And I kind of catch people in a very interesting spot where they are definitely sharing what they've learned, but, as we have conversations, I have to ask them questions, for 60 to 90 minutes every week, and, they get to think a lot too about their journey and what they don't know, as they're answering these questions and as they're reflecting on their life.
Do you do both nonfiction and fiction?
I ghostwrite nonfiction, so business books, memoirs. I do a little bit of fiction editing if it comes my way, but a lot of nonfiction editing, beta reading, developmental editing, and then I write fiction just for myself with my own name and all that stuff. I'm happy to do like editing for fiction, but I like to write it for myself.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like that too. That's why I have a pen name, and then I have my name for when I do the nonfiction, but
Yep.
I prefer fiction.
Yes.
I don't
Oh
know
yeah.
why, but I do.
Yeah.
I guess I like the fantasy.
And it's fun to kind of have some control over the world and the characters and like when with fiction you can kind of tell people this is how the world is. With nonfiction, you have to meet them where they are in their perspective of the world because they have the readers have an idea of what's true and you have to make sure that you're kind of meeting them at that point. Whereas fiction you can just say this and this is true, and that's part of it. So
So many people think writing a book is about becoming an author. You frame it as becoming a guide. Can you explain?
yeah, I mean, it kind of what I was saying where you're meeting like a reader where they are, and then you're guiding them to either a lesson or a nonfiction. It's maybe a transformation that they're going to make, or you're guiding them through a journey that they're going to take. Like nonfiction readers, it's like they have a problem, like say they want to make more money, and you're guiding them through that journey of what they need to do, what hero's journey they need to take so that they can make more money and, all that stuff. And even in fiction, too, like I always lead with a theme or a kind of a message, that I want to share in my fiction books. And the entire book is just guiding someone through that journey until they get to that conclusion. Um, they may or may not agree with it, but that's kind of the point that I wanna make in my fiction book. That's, my debut novel. The kind of point that I'm making, I don't think is something that necessarily everyone would agree with, but it's at least, that's the point of view of the book, so
Yeah, I get that for sure. So let's talk about your book. What can you tell us about it without, spoilers?
Yes, yeah, of course. So it is called The Barefoot Followers of Sweet Potato Grace. And the basic spiel is there is this young woman named Pinky Swear. She is a closeted lesbian in a very, very tiny, tiny town in Texas called Tombstone. She is dealing with the grief of her cat, and she's also decided to potentially come out to her friends and family. But before she can do that, she is interrupted by a Volkswagen van of a bunch of barefoot people who look like they came straight out of the 70s. And they move into this town. They cause a lot of chaos. It's very fun. They're accused of being a cult. It's very fun, lighthearted. I mean, there are some like serious themes of like grief and identity and coming out. But overall, it's like a good, fun, light read. You can finish it in a day, and it's a good like escape from things because it's very optimistic.
Hey, that's what we need right now.
Yes.
So, what was the inspiration? Is there any real world inspiration, or is it just a world you created?
Yeah, it's basically a world I created. I was grieving a cat that I had named Sweet Potato Grace, and she loved goat cheese. She's very bougie, and I was planning a memorial for her that was gonna be like a goat cheese themed memorial. And as I was planning it and thinking about it, for some reason, like, the date of the 4th of July popped in my head, and I thought the 4th of July goat cheese memorial for Sweet Potato Grace, and I was like, "Well, if that's not the title of a book, I don't know what is." So I started thinking about that, and, I was very kind of feeling very small and very sad in my grief, and I kind of pictured this character who's giving this eulogy at a 4th of July goat cheese memorial for Sweet Potato Grace, and, I could hear the flies buzzing and the grandma kind of, disassociating and the heaviness of the occasion, and, I kinda had that character, but I didn't know what was going to happen, and then at the time, I was, thinking about the phrase, "A good story starts with a hero leaving home or a stranger coming to town," and I didn't know this character yet, but I knew she wasn't ready to leave home, so that left me with no choice but for some strangers to come to town, and that's how the Barefoot Followers came into play, and then, I just let them, go on their journey, so it's yeah, kind of a not the most fun, inspiration for a book, but here we are.
But it's the, turning the lemons into lemonade situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Pinky Swear, she learns a lot from that situation. She, kind of has this next step in her life, this next chapter in her life, and she has these new people to help her kinda decide what to do with it, and it's very fun along the way.
Yeah, sounds like
Eh
it. So, what is your writing process like?
I tend to just kind of think of the different kind of scenes. I don't plot things out until like a few drafts in. So I usually will just write a bunch of different mishmash scenes and I don't know where they're going and I don't know all of that. And then once I've got like a good chunk of the story in, then I'll go through the book and again I will plot it out as in like there's like the inside outline that is in it's in Blueprint for a book. I don't know the author's name, but she has this like structure for an outline where it's just like, here's what happens, and because this happens, then you have the next thing, and because that happened, and just that kind of basic structure. So I like to plot all that out, and then I'll rewrite the book essentially, which I that idea is from Matt Bell's "Refuse to Be Done," and then if I'm, with certain books, I'll rewrite it again, which is what I'm doing with my second book. And yeah, just kind of, once I have the order of events, then I really just go from top to bottom and write the story all again. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah.
How many drafts do you think you have? Because I'm on my second or my sequel to the book I just released, and I am on like, my sixth draft, and I'm like, where am I going with this?
I don't know how many drafts there were for the Barefoot Followers. I kind of wish I had counted. I know with the next book that I'm working on now, I'm about to start the third draft. I'm counting. Um, it like later this month, and then I'm hoping that with that draft, I'll be maybe like do some edits, and that will be, I'll just be chipping away at that draft instead of deciding to rewrite it entirely. So
Right. Yes, because it's so frustrating.
yeah. Yeah, I so originally this book I was gonna do third person, which is also what I did for Barefoot Followers. I thought it was gonna be in third person. For Barefoot Followers, Pinky's voice is just very unique and it's very fun to be in her head. So I rewrote wrote the entire book in first person and now it's in first person. With the second book, the main character, it's not so fun to be in her head and she's not a very pleasant person. So I'm gonna rewrite it again in third person. I think it's gonna stick that way. So see.
Gotcha. That's
Yeah.
impressive that you can switch between the 2 because I cannot do that.
It's tough. I was, with with Barefoot Followers, it was much easier to do the first person just because Pinky's so unique. Yeah, with this, it was a little tougher to be in first person with this one character because she's just quite negative, which is not a fun place to be, so and not fun for readers, so, hopefully with a little bit of distance and hopefully that third person kinda narrator will be able to kinda poke fun at her as much as, the readers want to as well.
Sure. So, how do you balance the different emotions? Because, like you said, it's lighthearted, but I've talked to different authors, and some of them say, I just don't know how far I should take the comedy.
Yeah, I think I wanted to lead with the comedy and with the quirky aspects of it. So like the town that they're in is called Tombstone. It has very silly everyone has a very silly name. I mean, Pinky Swear is she's named Pinky Swear after another cat that I had. And it was just like kind of the perfect name. Her sister is named Fanny. Like the Barefoot people all kind of have quirky names. The town itself is filled with very quirky like death related names, like the church's Our Lady of the Obituary and like all that kind of stuff. So it's like I wanted to lead from that space, but there's some themes that go and you need tension and you need some conflicting feelings as well. So I wanted to have like the comedy like first and foremost, like this is going to be a funny book. There's going to be some tension and there's going to be some conflict, but like this is very silly, so just
Mhm.
kind of placing the readers in a very silly space, for them to go on the journey with Pinky.
Those are my favorite kind of books. I love to laugh, and I
Yeah.
love to escape, especially in fiction. You really want to escape.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I There's this book called Dial A for Aunties that is one of the books that kind of very loosely inspired this book because I had read this book. It's about a woman who she kills her blind date that she was set up on by her four aunts, and she like has this dead body that she doesn't know what to do with, but they're all hosting a wedding. Like they're all wedding planners. So they like have to go through this wedding with this like dead body and it's like so I mean, you have to suspend your disbelief for a lot of it, but it's so funny, like laugh out loud funny. And I don't encounter a lot of books like that.
Mhm.
But when I read it, I was like, I want more of these books where you just can laugh out loud and like it's silly and absurd and quirky. And that was one of the things that kind of pushed me forward with this book is like, I want a book where people can actually laugh and, even if they have to suspend their disbelief a little bit.
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of genre I love. I wish there
Yeah.
was more in it, to be
Yeah.
honest. Yeah.
It's hard. I had the first agent who rejected me was like, "I love funny books. I just can't sell funny books," which I totally get because there's a weird feeling of when you're trying to pitch a book to someone and you're like, "It's funny." Like I feel like I have to do jazz hands or like a little dance just to prove that it is quite funny, especially when it starts with a cat eulogy. So I get that it's tough to sell, and everyone has a different sense of humor, and what one person thinks is funny is, not gonna be the same as another person's sense of humor, so I get that it's hard to sell, but it's also like, we just need more funny books out there, so, hopefully I'll be
100%.
yeah, I'll try and write as
Yes,
many as I can.
please do. Please do. Agents, if you're listening, we want funny.
Yes, yes.
So, as for prospective writers out there, there's so many people out there that say, I want to write a book, but what's the most common real fear hiding behind that phrase?
I wonder if people are afraid that it's just not gonna be good, especially it's a lot of time that you put into writing a book. I mean, I have a writing friend and mentor that says, like, block out 4 years of your life for a book, that wasn't the case with the Barefoot Followers, but it was, it could be the case for many books. I mean, The Slip by Lucas Schaefer, which I read recently, and also an Austen author, he spent 12 years on the book. I mean, he's reaping all of the benefits of that, and he's, winning all of these amazing rewards, and it's one of the best books of 2025. So it's completely worth it, in my opinion. It was a phenomenal book. But yeah, it's a lot of time, and then to invest all this time into doing something that may not go anywhere. I think for some people, that's not a risk that they're willing to take. But it's also, I don't know, I just like the process of writing a book. I like the process of creating these characters and kind of putting things from the real world and kind of placing it into the book, to kind of work through it that way. The second novel I worked a lot in airports and just using my frustration of people in airports and just putting that into the book, stuff like that. So I enjoy the process. I don't have any like crazy expectations for where things are going to go, but I'm just enjoying taking the time to like make it the book that I want to read anyway. So I would hope that prospective writers are coming from that position as well, because then they'll just enjoy it even if it goes nowhere.
Yes, yes. That I think that that is a big reason that a lot of people just don't pull the trigger on going into writing because, it is an uphill battle. And then there's the what if, what if I don't make it? So that kind of leads me to my next question. What advice would you give prospective writers out there?
I think it's doing it because you love it. Like enjoying the time, taking the like money, success, all that kind of stuff out of it. And also just finding writing groups because like when you're writing by yourself and it's a solitary activity, it's not as fun. A lot of the Barefoot Followers, like the reason that it's the book it is today is because I was part of writing groups and I wrote with amazing writers in Austin, and just like I was able to share this with writers and readers and people that helped me make this book a better book. And it's also just fun because you get to learn about different elements of storytelling and writing and craft and all this stuff, and you get to be in community with people, especially I think I don't know about other cities, but the Austin writing community is one huge, two very like accomplished, and also very quirky. You do not know who you're going to meet at certain literary events or in writing groups, and there's like so many writing groups and so many free writing groups, and all of those people can teach you something about telling a story or just like about what it is to be a human, which I think is what all writing is kind of getting at. So yeah, just write with other people is, I think, very important. Worst comes to worst, you'll make a friend. So
Yeah, that's a good point. That's great
yeah.
advice. I haven't had anyone say that, so that's really good advice. So where can the readers, the listeners find you?
You can find me on Instagram. It's just Megan Okonsky. I have a Substack. It's called I Can't Stop Writing, but I think if you look up meganokonsky.substack.com, that's the way to find me. And then you can find the book pretty much everywhere books are sold. Hopefully, you're looking in an indie bookstore near you, or bookshop.org, which you can benefit local bookstores through your purchase. You can also, the audiobook is coming out May 26th, I believe. I know it's on Spotify. It's going to be on Audible, Libro.fm, I believe. So, yeah, there's all the places you can find a book, you can find my book. So,
Awesome,
yeah.
awesome. Well, I look forward to reading it. Megan, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
I think one of the biggest takeaways from this episode is that writing isn't just about becoming an author. It's about becoming a guide. Whether you're telling your story or helping someone else tell theirs, there's something incredibly powerful about shaping a narrative that leads someone from where they are to where they could be. I loved what Megan said about writing not needing to be perfect or even successful right away. It just needs to be something you enjoy. Because at the end of the day, that's what keeps you coming back to the page. You can find Megan on Instagram, on Substack, and her book, The Barefoot Followers of Sweet Potato Grace, is available wherever books are sold. So definitely check that out. especially if you're looking for something heartfelt, quirky, and genuinely funny. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow Plot Twist Radio on Spotify, leave a review, and share it with someone who has a story they've been too afraid to start. Until next time, keep writing, keep creating, and keep embracing the twists in your own story.